Hello and welcome to all of you. Welcome to a video about eclipses. So I had a lot of requests of Veerle, please can you do another eclipse video? And yes, I love to do videos about eclipses because there is February of this year, 2017, is the eclipse season, and there is it is quite obvious that when there is eclipse time, you have the feeling that life is fated, so to speak. That's why I love to do it. And of course, you could say in a way life is always fated, but eclipse times are very often times where we people are aware that we are not gods, that we don't have everything in control, that we don't have everything into our hands because of the fated events that happen. So very often with eclipses, you're gonna have fated events. That's one thing. I hear a lot of clients telling me, but Veerle, all of those eclipses that you're mentioning on the videos, I never feel them. Of course, don't forget that astrology is a tailor-made thing. That's why general horoscopes, it's like when you're watching one, it might be correct for one time, maybe two times, because of the more of the synchronicity effect, but it's not tailor-made. It's not made for your personal individual horoscope. So the same with the eclipses. If you don't have any personal planets on the point where the eclipses are happening, you won't feel it. You will say, this is not for me. So you can have years and years and years without having one eclipse falling on a personal point, or on a, with a personal point, I mean an ascendant or an MC, for instance, or on a personal planet. So that's why. And all of a sudden you can have 1 or 2 years being bombarded with eclipses, and then you will feel, especially the tighter it is. So in other words, the tighter the eclipse is closer to a personal planet or a personal point, the more you will feel it. So that's why I wanted to make that clear. So about these eclipses, there are 2 of them. So one on the 11th of February or 10th, 11th of February, there is a lunar eclipse, so the sun will be opposite the moon. And then on the 26th, around the 26th of February, there is a solar eclipse. And they are quite, if you look at the charts of those 2 eclipses, they are quite different. So a solar eclipse is the sun and the moon together. And then of course with the nodes. Is it 26th? Yes, it is. But let's have a look at the meaning, right? What are these eclipses all about? And this is a very important phrase that I'm gonna say, because these eclipses, just like transits, just like progressions, you have to see the eclipses in a bigger point of view, in a bigger context, so to speak. Why? Because otherwise, if you just take one eclipse and you explain it in your chart, it's not enough. Again, it's not tailor-made. You have to see the bigger picture. Like for instance, when I do a reading, even if it's just one subject that people want to know, I'm going to look at the eclipses, I'm going to look at the natal chart, I'm going to look at the transits, going to look at the solar return, and so on and so on. So to see a bigger picture. And that's the same that I'm going to do now. Because eclipses, they belong to a certain family. And eclipse family, that is. And if you want to know more, if you're interested in astrology, look at my video that I made a long time ago, which is about the Saros cycle. And that is about the eclipses and how you put them into context and all of that. I'm not going to explain that here now. But what is basically, in a nutshell, it means that these 2 eclipses that are happening now in the beginning and the end of February, they belong to the same family. They belong to, and you can look that up astronomically, they belong to the family, and they all get a number. And 19, is it 19 South? So if you look up Saros and 19 South, you will see a bit more about these eclipse family. So what does it mean? When we want to know what a eclipse is all about, what a person is all about, what a dog is all about, etc., what a country is all about, you look at its origin. And that's what I'm going to do now. So these eclipses belong to a certain first eclipse that ever happened. And is it noted here? Yeah, on the 16th of April, 1512. So that was the first little eclipse that came there, and where those two eclipses today are derived from. So if you look, Bernadette Brady is an astrologer who looked at these eclipses of origin and who made her interpretation of it. And so it's very, very important to know that before we even get started with our eclipses and start getting the meaning from it, because that is like doing something out of the context, which is not very, very interesting to do. So this 19th South eclipse, what is it all about? Some eclipse families, they always have teams. So some families were like are very drastic teams, you know. Sometimes it's like, it's about separation, or it's about mobilizing all your energy because you're gonna have tough times. And then other eclipses are very light and very, very positive in our opinion. And so this one is. So I'm very glad to be able to announce this, because not only because we're living in times where life can be very hard, isn't it? And certainly on a collective level as well. But this is a piece of good news. So this, and what is it all about? So these two eclipses, in a bigger picture, they are about, I'm going to translate directly because this is in Dutch. There's a Venus-Jupiter conjunction, and Uranus is on the midpoint of the new moon Jupiter. So, in other words, this is an eclipse family that has a very surprise, but pleasant surprise element to it. So this is key. It's about a surprise, a surprising, pleasurable surprise element. So sudden luck, a joyful event, or just being lucky. So this is the flavor of this eclipse family. So that's good news, isn't it? We start with this. So everything that I'm going to say now, and now I'm going, actually I'm going now a bit deeper into the detail of the two eclipses, but everything that I will continue saying, you have to see it in that context of, you know, Venus, Jupiter and Uranus. All of a sudden, something good happening, something out of the blue, you could say, that surprises you, okay? Okay, that is a good thing to start. Now let's have a look at the two eclipses. Now I'm not going to talk too long about the Leo Aquarius eclipse. Why? Because it's not very tight. So eclipses are also stronger than others, you know. The solar eclipse is stronger. Why? Because the nodes are closer to the personal planets, okay? So, but it is a very interesting eclipse, the one on the 11th of February. Again, if you don't have any planet or any personal point on 22 degrees of Leo or Aquarius, you're probably not going to feel this. Although this one is, when it comes to energy, a very, very special one, because it has a lot of, you could say it has two oppositions, but it also has, which is confrontational, you could say. But there is also a lot of trines and sextiles and so forth. So everything falls on almost 22 degrees. I'm not going to explain in details because this video is going to be way too long. But what it basically says is that if you would have a personal planet on 22 degrees of a positive element, then you're going to feel this. What is a positive element? It is Aries. The positive element, so if you have something on 22 degrees of Aries, you'll feel this. If you've got something on 22 degrees of Gemini, then 22 degrees of Leo, of course, 22 degrees of Libra, 22 degrees of Sagittarius, 22 degrees of Sagittarius, Aquarius, of course, Aquarius. So if you've got these degrees, then you will feel it, because there is a lot of supporting energy towards this eclipse. And it's a lunar one, so it brings something to light. It brings, again, you know, it could be unexpected, because of that original eclipse has the meaning of the unexpected factor and something positive coming your way. But this is certainly not a negative eclipse. I mean, the one on the 11th of February, if you look at that chart, it's a very positive chart. And it's about self-expression, and it's about friendliness. Oh my God, do we need friendliness in this life? In this time as well. So it could have to do something on a very general level with self-expression, with children, with love as well, versus friends, versus people that are like-minded. It's quite an enjoyable eclipse. Now, another question that a lot of people ask me is it true that when eclipses happen that things end? And is that true for a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse? Well, it's, again, you have to look at your personal chart to really answer that question in a serious way. Because of course, like normally they say in the books that a solar eclipse, when the moon and the sun is together, it's like a new beginning. Of course, because there's an ending, so there's of course a new beginning. But I've seen it also in lunar eclipses, when something comes to light, when something comes to consciousness, then people take action and sometimes end or begin something new. So, but yes, solar eclipses are mostly associated with new beginnings. Now let's have a look now at the solar eclipse, because it's way more important. So the one on the 26th of February. Again, with that solar eclipse, take into your consideration that this is about Uranus and Venus, Jupiter, right? But this solar eclipse is more complex, because we've got two, and it seems to be a bit more challenging, because it's two very different energies happening at the same time on the 26th of February. First of all, it's the conjunction, a very big conjunction in Pisces. Secondly, there is a totally different energy going on with Mars. Mars being in Aries, you know, the go-getter, the instinctive Mars. Mars is your doing, the way that you do things. And it's connected with Pluto, with Uranus, and with Jupiter. So I'm going to talk about these two things. So what will happen, we will also feel these two separate things going on at the same time. And I think it does make sense. So yes, the solar eclipse is all about the sun being together with the moon, and it's on 8 degrees. So if you have 8 degrees, personal planets in Pisces, maybe in the opposite sign as well, of Virgo, then you will feel it the most. But, so the sun and the moon are together. Also together with Neptune, big planet, big outer planet Neptune, also together with the South Node. So this is a solar eclipse conjunct the South Node, also very important. And of course we also have Chiron. So there will be a bit of a traffic jam there. Mercury as well is at the very beginning of Pisces. So we're going to be, in general, more sensitive, for sure. The sensitivity rises when you've got so many planets in Pisces. And let's hope that, because everything has a low vibration and a high vibration, let's hope that we will get some high vibration of the Piscean energy, which is feeling connected, which is with Source, with God, if you like, which is able to forgive, compassion, awareness of, in general, actually. So the antennas are very, very big. Now, that's the positive side of the Pisces energy, also the letting go of things that are no longer suiting you, but the gently letting go of that, because Neptune is a lot about dissolvement. And when Neptune is around, I often see that it's not like Uranus or Pluto that cut things off all of a sudden. It's like gently dissolving. The South Node is also energy of letting go, so to speak, because the North Node is more about where we need to go, and we are hungry for that. We want to explore there. And Pisces is the 12th house, associated with the 12th house. So, of course, on a negative level, it's being on that day totally confused, right? So with the Neptune there, it's like, where am I? But it's not all that. As I said, we have a very exciting Mars at the same time on that day. So let's hope that at its best, we can really let go of some things, situations, maybe people, maybe addictions as well. Why? Because when you see the South Node, for instance, in the 12th house, and also Pisces, which is like a double whammy, I often see that people just that people manage to deal with their addictions. If it would have been the other way around, it would be very tricky. The North Node in the 12th house may amplify it and may even make it larger. At its worst, there's a good side of it as well, getting more spiritual, for instance. But that could be the case. There's certainly, and of course, these eclipses, they don't happen. Of course, they happen bang on one day, but people feel it already weeks before that. So there could be an area, look at your chart where Pisces is, and look at that area. If there are things that you feel, yeah, I have to let them go, and it dissolves, and it is all good. Because if you're doing that, it's going to help you to prepare yourself for the very feisty energy of Mars, because Mars is in Aries, again, a go-getter, you do things because you are instinctively driven. So people's passions will rise for sure. Also with Venus there in Aries as well. Venus and Mars in Aries, very passionate. You do things, you love things, and you go after your passions. But this Mars squares up to Pluto, and it conjuncts Uranus, and then it opposes Jupiter. So this is a very, very exciting Mars, to say the least. Now, again, you can look at that as a very negative thing, and we can try to prepare ourselves to use the most positive things. When you read like Mars with Pluto and Uranus and Jupiter, when you would read that in the books of astrology, you would read that murder, violence is on the menu, so to speak. Of course, this can happen, in charts of people that are murdered or murderers. You will see sometimes a Mars-Pluto connection, but that is maybe 1.5% of the population. So we people who love drama, some love more drama than others, but we like to amplify all these things. Chances are very low that is going to happen. And I'm not even talking about collectively. Collectively, I think at the end of the month, we're going to see indeed some quite passionate actions. But on a personal level, it can be one of the most powerful transits. If you have this in a transit, or if you have this in a natal chart, or if you have this in a solar return, then as an astrologer, you know that this person at its best will have to mobilize itself to do something that is quite courageous, and certainly in Aries. So we will be challenged and tested at the end of February at its best to do something that we show our willpower in a way that it has been suppressed, basically. Because Mars with Pluto, if we take Mars with Pluto quite often, if you have someone in a natal chart with Mars-Pluto aspect, You will definitely see when they are younger. I have never ever seen a person with Mars Pluto when they are very young and they already are very strong and powerful. No, they start off with feeling powerless, with having the Mars being very suppressed, you know, and you suppress it and you suppress it and so on and so on. And with suppressing your Mars, I mean you want to do things but you're not doing it. You want to say to the waiters who has given you cold soup, you want to say, this is cold, but you're not doing it. It's a stupid example, but it is like that. And these people learn because if you have that in a natal chart, for instance, or like this in a transit, you will start from a powerless situation to go towards a very, you know, as you grow older, mostly, I've seen those people with the most powerful Mars, with the most tremendous amount of willpower and tremendous amount of very assertive, courageous willpower. And that other people would say, I cannot do this, they do it, you know. So it's a very powerful aspect, Mars with Pluto, and Uranus adds to the suddenness. And also Uranus is also about, it's 5 before 12. You've suppressed it so long. Let's liberate you from this. It adds to it, and Jupiter makes it even bigger. So have a look already now at an area of your life where that Mars is passing through, where you have suppressed your Mars. And where you are afraid of doing something, because now is the time to do it. Again, when I see such a configuration with Mars, Pluto and Uranus, and now also with Jupiter, I know that in a solar return, for instance, I know that people are going to liberate themselves. They will. And it's going to be a bit shocky, and it's going to feel like getting very much out of the comfort zone. But after all, ultimately they will feel liberated. So and it's that aspect that you want to see if you really want to make a big change. And a big change, I mean a personal big change. For others, if they would look at your change, they would say maybe that's not such a big change. So Mars and Pluto is definitely about, as I said, people who have this in a natal chart, time after time when they are younger, they're going to be tested to show their Mars, and they're going to get into situations that are a bit more extreme, just to let that Mars show up, whatever particular area of life, it doesn't matter. So have a look at where your Mars is situated, and and ask yourself the question: is there something that I want to do, Mars in Aries, that I really am passionate about, that I really want to do, that instinctively I feel that this is right? Is there something that I want to do? And then, of course, the question, do it or not, depends a lot when you are insecure. Some of you will say, yeah, there is something and I want to do that, and I know it's good for me, instinctively I know it's good for me. So you will feel that the energies are there that are almost like helpful to let you do what you need to do. Is it a job that you need to quit and to start a new one? Is it a relationship that is so toxic that you want to end? And so on and so on. It doesn't matter. For other people, it may be a very small thing. Again, it depends. Do you have personal planets? As well, not only in Pisces but also on that Mars over there at, is it 20 degrees of Aries, or 21 or 22 degrees of Aries, I'm not sure. It will be on 21 degrees of Aries, quite just next to Uranus. So yes, if you doubt, that's another thing. If you doubt, will I do this, yes or no? I always say that to clients. If you're really doubting, ask yourself the following question. If I'm gonna do this, yes or no, would I cross my own personal boundaries, yes or no? You can ask that question. And why do I say that? Because Saturn is in Sagittarius, and it's forming a very beautiful trine to this Mars and Uranus. And also So that is a lot of support. And Saturn is about boundaries, and Sagittarius is about your beliefs and what you believe in. So ask yourself, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have just given birth to a child. You are a mom and you have studied and you have quite a nice career, but your personal boundary or a boundary of yours is that the next 3 years I'm going to be not working. I'm going to be there for my kid, and that's my belief. That's Saturn in Sagittarius. I'm going to do that in those 3 years. But of course, life will test you, wouldn't it? And then you have a configuration like this happening, and that's simply a test of. It's simply a test, in other words. And let's say that your child is 1 year old, and headhunters are just annoying you very much with a fantastic job, and you're in doubt. Then ask yourself, would I cross my personal boundary? Yes, this woman would cross her personal boundary because she has set up this personal boundary, and it doesn't give a good feeling, It really is a feeling in the belly, isn't it? Especially with this Mars in Aries. So it's better probably for that woman not to go for that action for that new job. But let's say that the baby or the child is 2 years and 10 months, for instance, or 8 months. Then you could ask yourself the question, if I would go to that new job in Japan and I'm going to have to travel a lot, will I cross my personal boundary? Well, actually, no. I said that I'm going to take care for that kid for 3 years, and now it's almost 3 years. So yeah, you see what I mean? I know I don't know why I'm giving you this example, but it shows that asking yourself that question about your personal boundaries can often be a very good exercise, so to speak, or it can give you insights of what you really, really want, and if you are going to be okay with the decision that you're going to make. So don't jump with this, don't jump into the water with all your clothes on, and then you say like, this is also typical Aries, and then you say, oh, I'm wet all over. Just ask yourself that question about personal boundaries and integrity, in other words. And I think you'll be fine. I thought it would be a very short video. I don't know how long. Oh, it's quite long. So I'm going to stop here. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a very good eclipse time. And remember, this is new stuff coming in, basically. New things coming in all of a sudden, and they're ready. They're ready to get into your life. Make the best of it. Make the most out of it. And thanks again for watching. Bye-bye. Oh, and by the way, if you want the personal reading and want to know, of course, get in touch. I'll put all the link of the personal readings below. Thank you. Bye-bye.